This is the Louie T Network.
Now we have sound. Welcome all my fellow Redskin brethren and sister. I am your man and resident Redskins fan, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on the Redskins Report. The 2017 Washington Redskins journey has begun. Training camp started late July. We've had training camp practices. No real casualties during training camp. You get to the first preseason game versus the Baltimore Ravens on Thursday. That was a disaster. We'll talk about that in a second. But now we do have casualties. The injuries are starting to mount. Nothing really of note. Of course, we've had one catastrophic injury. We'll get to that a little bit later as well. But it just, there's an eerie feeling right now. And again, there's first preseason game. There's no panic button to hit right now. I just don't have the same feel, okay? And again, this doesn't matter. I felt good about last year. I felt good about the preseason last year. And what did we do? Go 8-7-1 and miss the playoffs. So it really doesn't matter how you feel right now. But I don't have a great feeling right now about the team. I'm not going to lie to you. There's a lot of things that were really disappointing and disheartening to watch on Thursday. And we're going to talk about everything. And it's been a while since we have gotten together as a congregation and talked about the burgundy and gold. And I want to apologize for that because it's been too long. And I've had numerous fans hit me on whether it's been Twitter or Instagram or on the YouTube channel like, hey, man, what's going on? We need a Redskin vid. And there wasn't a lot of things to discuss, but as soon as training camp, and I'm not going to lie to you, I've been on vacation. I've been doing the draft wrap-up series. I've been extremely busy. So there's been a number of reasons as to why I haven't done a video, but we're here now. And there is a lot to talk about now. And so we're going to talk about that tonight. And I'm going to take some of your comments as well. So if you're out there and you happen to be watching, please feel free to leave comments in the section. Again, this is a Redskin video, so if you're watching out there and you have a Redskin question, I will be glad to answer any Redskin questions. If it's not a Redskin question, I'm not going to answer it. So make sure you use the hashtag LouieTLive if you want your comment read on the air. We'll get to the comment section of the show a little bit later on, but let me first start out by talking about injuries. I talked about the Grim Reaper being out there and going around NFL camps and touching players and really being physical this year. He's going after quarterbacks. No one's safe. In the past, it used to just be positional players, a few skill guys here and there, but never the quarterback. Never going to touch your quarterback. He touched Teddy Bridgewater last year. That was about it. Okay, there weren't a ton of teams that had quarterback injuries. We've already seen Joe Flacco go down. Ravens are hoping he's going to be ready for the start of the season. We've seen Ryan Tannehill go down to an ACL. He's done for the season already. So we've seen teams already be affected by the Reaper. But the Redskins have been hit by the Reaper this year. He hasn't been hit extremely hard, but he has been to Richmond and he has touched a few of our players. Jordan Reed with the toe injury. We haven't seen him all season. I don't give a damn about Jordan Reed missing the entire preseason. I could care less. As a matter of fact, I don't have a problem with him not playing a single snap in the preseason. I want Jordan Reed for the regular season. We got to hope. We got to pray that toe is not serious. When you hear him going to specialists, you hear him wearing a specific orthopedic boot on his foot because of the toe, it worries me. I'm not going to lie to you. When you go see specialists outside of the team doctors, it worries me. And when you tell me, yeah, he's day-to-day, but he's not practicing and there's no sign of him being healthy enough to go, I'm worried. A toe matters, especially for a guy as talented as Jordan Reed, where he plants double sticks, triple sticks. You got to have your toe for everything that you're going to do as a receiver. And Jordan Reed is one of the most integral parts of our offense. If he's not on the field, that is not a good thing. Junior Galette. Look, I know you don't want to talk about Junior Galette. I don't want to talk about Junior Galette. But the fact of the matter is, he may be. And we don't even have Junior Galette. We never have had Junior Galette. Nonetheless, he still may be the best pass rusher that we got. As crazy as that sounds, we have no empirical proof that this man can even get to the quarterback in a Redskins uniform. We know what he was able to do in New Orleans. We have no clue of what this man looks like 2 Achilles tears later in a Redskins uniform, how effective he could be. Doesn't matter. We can use all the pass rush help we can get. And so as much as it pains me to sit here and talk about Junior Galette's hamstring, we need Junior Galette. And so we got to hope that he can stay healthy this year because we can use all the pass rushing help that we can get. Speaking of pass rushing help, you say what you want about Trent Murphy. Trent Murphy was our best pass rusher. Not statistically, that goes to Ryan Kerrigan, but we all know Ryan Kerrigan isn't our best pass rusher. No, he wasn't healthy last year, but Ryan Kerrigan is a number 2 pass rusher. I've been telling you this since day one, and I'm not moving off the spot. Trent Murphy was our best pure pass rusher a season ago. He's gone for the season. And one of the Ravens players said to him as he was walking off the field, that's what happens when you take roids. And I know you saw Trent Murphy flip the bird as he was being escorted off the field with a torn ACL. That sucks. You know, you work this hard in camp and in the offseason to put yourself in a position. You already are going to be suspended the first 4 games of the season, but you're still putting yourself in a position to be ready for the start of the 2017 NFL season. And boom, just like that, your season is done before it gets started. His ACL is gone, and we will not have Trent Murphy's services this season. So that was a catastrophic blow. It could have been worse. It could have been worse. Sua Cravens went down in that same game. How did I not know that? I don't know. I don't recall seeing Sua Cravens go down. I don't recall the commentators doing the game referencing Sua Cravens going down. I was not aware that Sua Cravens went down because the starters were out so quickly. I didn't know Sua Cravens sustained an injury until the day after the game. And then I found out Sua Cravens is hurt. I started sweating bullets. You know why? Because I watched that same preseason game that you watched. And the same fact remains the same as last year. We have no depth at safety. It's bad back there, man. You take away any, and I mean any, of our stuff at safety, we are in some trouble. Trouble. Okay? I know you saw Will Blackman's ass out there posing as a safety again. I know you saw Terrence Rest shake the drawers off of him before dragging his ass to about the 2-yard line before jumping into the end zone 2 plays later. I know you saw that. That's the same Will Blackman that I told you I don't want anywhere near my safety position. Fact of the matter is, if Sua Cravens gets hurt, fact of the matter is, if DJ Swearinger gets hurt, who the hell do you think they're going to put in the game? You guessed it, Will mother effing Blackman. And I like Will Blackman. I do not love Will Blackman, especially at the safety position. Put Will Blackman back at corner, specifically nickel corner. And we're going to talk about the nickel corner position as well. But put his ass back at nickel, I have no problems with that. You stick him at safety, I have a huge problem with that. So safety depth, boy. We're going to talk about depth a little bit later on too. But let's get back to these injuries. So Sua went down, and I was praying. I was like, come on. Look, you done already touched enough of our players this year. As it is, Reaper, please please leave my man's knee intact. He said, I'm going to spare you this time. But I'm going to tell you right now, you're pushing it. I said, look, man, I appreciate you, bro. He said, I might have to take Trent's ACL. I said, go ahead, run with it. And I'm sorry, Trent, but we need Sua. We need Sua. It's a knee sprain. He's day-to-day. It's swollen. Look, I'm cool with that. Sit his ass down for the next couple weeks. Maybe not even till week 1 we don't see him. That's fine. I know I would love to see him out there. You would love to see him out there because fact of the matter is Sua Cravens hasn't played the safety position at this level. Okay? So you would love to see him get some reps, live bullets out there running around, communication being had and all that. But the bottom line is we need him healthy for the season. That's the most important part. The most important takeaway from preseason football is never the score. It's always the health. You want to see guys go out and perform. You want to see there be cohesiveness. You want to see guys getting reps together and starting to gel. All of that is great, and that's what you want. But at the end of the day, damn all of that. I need health first and foremost. And we sustained some injuries, but nothing really catastrophic. Like, again, Trent Murphy being lost for the season, that stings at a position that I think we have tons of depth. We just don't have good football players there. That's the bottom line. And so I was willing to give up Trent if that meant Sua was going to be able to come back. And so it sucked, but it was a trade-off I was willing to make with the Reaper, as well as Josh Doxson and Jamison Crowder. Neither played, both sustained hamstring injuries in camp. You know, the Josh Doxson one really made me nervous because, again, when they tell me he goes down, first thing I'm thinking, the Achilles was a problem last year. Is it a problem this year? But it was a hamstring. That was very, very good news, but he did not play. And we still really haven't seen Josh Doxson play in a Redskin uniform either. You want to count the Cowboys game from last year? Knock your socks off. I'm going ahead and I'm throwing that one out. And so we still really haven't seen him play either. So there are a ton of injuries right now. And what that leads me to is the depth on this football team. I feel like our depth isn't as good as it was a season ago. Remember last year when we looked at the receiver position, when our starters would come out of the game, when Pierre and Djax would come out of the game and Jamison Crowder, it just felt like we still had guys, the Thompson kid last year, Mo Harris. We felt good about those guys. There was a case to be made for Thompson to make the roster last year. I mean, there were people saying, hey, man, you got to take a look at this Thompson kid, man. He can play. And we were looking around at Mo Harris like, hey, he's big. We don't have one of those. Maybe we need to keep him. And we ultimately did keep Mo Harris. I'm looking at this roster this year. I'm looking at Robert Davis. I'm not impressed. I'm looking at Matt Hazel. He stinks. Okay? I'm looking around. I don't have a problem with Brian Quick. But I just look at the receiver depth, and I'm saying, that's funky. You know, Ryan Grant out there with the starters, that's funky. He actually had a good catch, though. But nonetheless, I was not pleased with the receiver depth. Those guys weren't separating. They weren't making plays. We can blame the quarterbacks and the offensive line all we want. The receivers stunk. That depth was funky. The safety position, the depth is not there. Okay? So that's a little worrisome. I do feel like we have quality depth at edge rusher, even though I still don't think any of it is all that good. You know, I feel good about Kerrigan. No Preston Smith. He's dealing with an injury as well. He's dealing with a hammy or ankle. It's actually an ankle sprain for Preston Smith, so you could add him to the list of injuries. But there was no Preston. I heard he's looking good, and I heard he's in the best shape of his career. That's a good thing. Maybe we'll get some good Preston this year, but nonetheless, I actually thought Chris Carter played well. We'll talk about guys that I thought, you know, shined and played well in a really dark and gloomy, nasty preseason opener for the Redskins. But all in all, the depth on this roster, I'm not impressed. I am really not impressed. I'm not impressed with the cornerback depth. But again, we had some injuries. You know, we're still waiting on our third-round pick and Fabian Moreau to come out there. The safety depth will get better, I guess, once Monte Nicholson comes back. And I heard he's slated to come back to practice this week, rookie out of Michigan State. So that'll help the safety position, I'm assuming. It can't get any worse, right? So maybe the depth will get better as we see some of these guys come back. I guess when you start going to the fourth and fifth string guys that aren't going to make the roster, maybe it does look a little bit. Matt Hazel isn't making this team. Okay, Robert Davis, I still don't think is going to make this team. I think he'll be on the practice squad, but I don't think he's going to make this squad. So I guess I'm overreacting to the fact that there just was so many injuries that we played a lot of guys that I don't want to see playing in the Redskins uniform, period. End of discussion. So with that being said, let's move on to the rookies before we actually dive into the Ravens game itself and some other topics that I want to get to before I get to your comments and questions and concerns with the team thus far. Let's look at the rookies quickly. We'll go through each and every single one of them and what I thought about their performance on Thursday. Start with Jonathan Allen. I thought he had limited snaps, first and foremost. I'd like to see him play sooner with some of the starters. I don't know why they're bringing him along so slowly, but Jonathan Allen, I thought he was solid. He had the sack. That was good hustle. I saw him get in the backfield a couple of times, so he flashed for his first NFL game. Thought he was solid. Ryan Anderson actually started the game because of the injury to Preston Smith and Junior Gillette. He was out on the field, and so I thought he was solid, especially in the run game. No pressure on the quarterback though, really. And so I thought he did some okay things. He did what I expect him to do. I told you I wasn't sold, and I'm still not on that selection. There were other guys on the table. Tim Williams comes to mind. Terrell Basham is another guy that I was in love with. There were guys on the board at that time when we made that selection of Ryan Anderson in the second round, and I still don't love this pick. I think he's another version of Ryan Kerrigan, another version of Preston Smith, a guy that's going to be stout against the run, but what is he really giving you in the pass game as a pass rusher? I don't know. I know he's not explosive. I can tell you that right now. And I didn't see any explosion. I saw a guy that was tough, that was physical, that was rugged, and that did do some good things in the run game. Monte Nicholson didn't play due to injury. Fabian Moreau didn't play due to injury. So a couple of key secondary youngsters not on the field in the first preseason game. We may not see Fabian Moreau all preseason. We may not see him for the early portion of the season, as a matter of fact, due to the torn pec that he sustained in the pre-draft process. So I don't look for him anytime soon. Robert Davis, I thought he was really, really suspect on the night. I told you one of his issues in the draft wrap-up I did for the Redskins, that his route running wasn't his biggest strength, and you could see that. Colt McCoy threw him a 50-50 ball. He didn't even jump. Now, it was not a great ball. You're going to throw the football deep to a receiver. It needs to be on the outside, not the inside. So Colt McCoy didn't give him a great opportunity, but he didn't even contest it. He didn't even go up and try to help. I saw him run some comebacks where he was just out of sorts. Colt McCoy was out of sorts. The offensive line, the offense in general was out of sorts, but I was not impressed with Robert Davis whatsoever. Chase Roulier, I thought he was okay. I didn't think he was great. I saw him beat a couple of times on the interior. The offensive line, all offensive line units, that includes the first team, got their ass whooped by the Ravens up front. I thought the Ravens were way more physical. They were quicker. They were stouter at the point of attack. They beat us off the ball. That goes for Trent Williams. That goes for, I saw Spencer Long get his ass tossed out of the way like yesterday's trash on that 3rd and 1 play. I think even on the sack, he got tossed aside. We got beat off the snap. First, second, and third string offensive line. Chase Roulier, I thought he was a part of guys getting beat as well. So I thought he was okay. I didn't think he was terrible. I didn't think he was that great either. I thought Josh Harvey Clemens actually flashed as a linebacker. We knew that he was going to probably be more of that nickel linebacker type of player. He's tall, he's long, he's rangy. He's put on some weight. He looked good. I thought that he ran around, made some plays, made some tackles, was very active. I like what I saw out of Josh Harvey Clemens. I want to see more. Joshua Holsey, I thought he was okay. He had the big PI early in the game because he didn't look. Young fella, turn and locate. I tell you all the time, you got to be an LLCer. Look, locate, contest. He did not look. He did not locate. And because he did not do the first two, he could not do the last. He could not contest. He face guarded. He ran into the receiver. It was a poorly thrown football. Man, oh man, does Ryan Mallett suck. Ryan Mallett stinks. Stinks. He's funky. They should have put up 40 on us in that game. And if he was any good, the first possession, we got smoked in the slot. Okay? We got absolutely smoked in the slot. Fuller got his ass torched by Michael Campanaro. And if that was a good throw, that was a goddamn 30, 40-yard gain, possibly a touchdown because the safety got over there late. So we got issues. We'll get to that a little bit later on when we get to the game. But Joshua Hosey got to turn and look, young fella. He makes a good play later on in the game, saving a touchdown on a deep ball because Quentin Dunbar was out of position there. He overran the throw. The receiver came back to the ball. Quentin Dunbar didn't come back soon enough. That would have been a catch if not for Hosey running 50 yards down the field and knocking it away. So I thought the young fella redeemed himself later on in the game. He's young. You make those types of mistakes. Got to clean that stuff up, though. But I thought he was quality out there. Samaje Perine, tough outing for him. Didn't run the football effectively at all. I thought he was tentative. I didn't see the same guy that hit the hole with furious vigor at Oklahoma. And again, it's all of the process of being a rookie. You're thinking too much. You're trying to impress. You're doing the most when all you need to do. Sometimes less is more. And right now, as a rookie, and it happens to the best of them, you're doing too much. Less is more in this situation. And he was overthinking a lot of things. He fumbled the football. He had a drop on the very next play after that. It was a really bad possession for him there. I didn't think he ran it effectively. He's got a long way to go. It's fine. It's his first game. Those things happen. Jeremy Sprinkle, I thought he was okay. He had one catch early on in the third quarter. I think he's a guy that's going to continue to develop. I think he's going to have a great shot at making this roster. We'll see what happens with Jordan Reed, obviously. We got depth at tight end. And I want to see how Sprinkle comes along because right now, I don't know if he's going to make the roster. With Niles Paul, I don't know if they classify him as a fullback or a tight end, what his position will be. But with Niles Paul being healthy, if he stays healthy, which has been a problem for him, Sprinkle may be on the outs in terms of making the roster because you got to look at it from, if it's a tight end perspective, they decide to keep, let's say they keep 4, and they consider Niles Paul a tight end. You've got Niles Paul, you got Jordan Reed, you got Vernon Davis. Are they going to keep Sprinkle or are they going to keep Carrier? I would tend to think they would keep Sprinkle in that case. But if they only keep 3, of course, Sprinkle's your odd man out. So we'll see what happens there. But I thought he was okay. I didn't think he was great either. As we now move on to some guys that let's talk about the game overall, the Ravens game overall first before we get to anything else. That was one of the worst watches I've seen in the preseason in quite some time. Now, I've seen some bad Redskin games, and it's a preseason game. So, again, take it with a grain of salt. All right, it's the first preseason game, which makes it even worse. You're excited. You're happy to see the fellas back on the field. I know I was. But let's get one thing straight. It's the first preseason game. You knew you weren't going to see the starters for an extended period of time. You knew that this game was going to be a little rough because of all the injuries going into the game. I didn't know that our depth was going to be tested this early and it was going to look this bad. But that being said, boy, was this a bad game by the Redskins. It was a horrible game. The offense came out, and right away, you saw Kirk miss our new target right away. And look, Terrell Pryor, I heard people saying it was a drop. No, it wasn't a drop. It was a terrible pass by Kirk. Play action fake. It's a staple of the Redskins offense. It's the same drift route we've been running for the last 7 years. This goes back to the Shanahan days with Pierre Garçon in the drift route since, 2012? 2011? We've been running that drift route since the Shanahans got here. They got here in 2010. So, yeah, about the last 7 years, we've been running the same drift route, same concept, play action fake, first down, short play action fake, quick drift route over the middle of the field. It's supposed to get you 15 to 17 and get the ball rolling, and Kirk misses it hot. Okay, yeah, Terrell Pryor's tall. He's not 10 feet tall. So, miss me with the Terrell Pryor drop the football. Yeah, he may have been able to catch that, but goddamn, that's an easy throw. Make the throw. So, Kirk was off. So, we go 3 and out. We give up a sack on third down, and it was bad. It was a jailbreak. Goddamn, Trent Williams was beat on the play. Spencer Long was beat on the play. Brandon Sheriff was beat on the play. I mean, it was bad. So, you give up a sack, you punt. The defense is able to get off the field only because Ryan Mallett stinks, overthrows Michael Campanaro, who was wide ass open, beat the brakes off of Fuller. He beat the brakes off of Kendall Fuller. Wide ass open. That's a problem in itself. The nickel corner position is a problem. So we'll get off the field only because their quarterback is inaccurate and unable to throw a pass 40 yards down the field to an open receiver. We get the football back. They send the first offense back on the field. And we get a completion. Finally, Kirk gets a completion. You feel good about that. We get a solid quality run from Fat Rob, and you sit yourself up into a 3rd and 1 situation. I knew they were going to run it. They put 3 tight ends on the field. I said, this is so predictable, but we're going to find out if we can block. And it looked just like last year. Jailbreak City. Everybody in the backfield. Guys getting tossed on their ass left and right. And what do you know? 4-yard loss on 3rd and 1. We got a punt. And that was the last time we saw the first team offense. So that was a disaster. 6 plays, no first downs. Hell, we barely got first downs. We barely had more first downs in the game than penalties. At halftime, we had 4 first downs, and we had 3 penalties at halftime. It was a train wreck. And I just thought the performance overall was horrific. Colt McCoy came in. He played a stinky ball game. He was funky. Skipping balls all over the place, not setting his feet, inaccurate, wildly inaccurate, taking sacks, not getting out of the pocket in time enough, throwing interceptions and balls up for grabs. It was bad. Nate Sudfeld came in. There was still no rhythm, no pace, no timing to the offense. We couldn't run the damn ball to save our life, which was the problem last year, and it seems like it's going to be another problem this year. No back stood out other than Chris Thompson, who looked to be the best back that we got. Okay? Matt Jones came in. We all think he's not making the roster, but then there's no way to really be sure of that. I thought he was okay. He wasn't great. Samaje Perine struggled. We still seem to never want to give poor Mac Brown a shot. Why don't we just let him go? If we feel like Mac Brown's the 4th best, 5th best running back why don't we just let that man go and have an opportunity somewhere else? Because every year as fans, we sit here, Mac Brown needs to get more. Mac Brown didn't see the damn field till the 4th quarter. So if that's how you feel about Mac Brown, just let the man go. Damn. In any event, the running back position struggled. The offensive line struggled. The Ravens were more physical. They were more aggressive. They got after us. The defensive side of the football, we weren't impressive. Guys were open. Ryan Mallett couldn't hit them. We give up the touchdown. We give up a nice run when Blackman came into the game. Will Blackman came in. He is a horrendous tackler, by the way. You don't want him back there at free safety. If he's the last line of defense, you can go ahead and just pack it up right now. And so that's a problem in itself. But nonetheless, the Ravens were the better team. They had more depth than we did. They looked more prepared to play. Again, it's the first preseason game. I don't want to it was just a bad watch. It's a bad game. It was bad execution. It was a lack of depth. The talent on our football team, I'm going to tell you right now, I am not overwhelmed at all with the talent on this team right now. Because that's where you find out how much depth you have. When I tell you Jordan Reed's hurt, when I tell you Junior Gillette, Noah Preston Smith are playing, when I tell you Sua Cravens leaves the game, when I tell you Trent Murphy is now out, when I tell you Josh Doxson and Jamison Crowder are out as well, when I tell you all of these players are out, you want to see depth. You want to see guys step up and take advantage of that opportunity. And I saw a bunch of bums, dudes that I don't think are going to be in the league, or they're definitely not going to be on this roster, running around, not making plays. And that's disheartening. That's when you want to see the young guys step up and say, you know what? I don't feel as bad if Jamison Crowder can't play. Because Matt Hazel's going to step in and play. No, the hell Matt Hazel is not. What do you do at slot if Jamison Crowder goes down? What do you do at punt returner? God damn it, if they keep putting Will Black, you're trying to tell me out of the 90 guys on this roster right now, the best option you have at punt returner is Will effing Blackman if JC Ice can't suit up. Is that what you're telling me? Of 90 guys, that's the best we got. Come on, man. What are we doing? You don't have anybody else that can field a punt. When's the last time Will Blackman was actually a relevant punt returner. What, Boston College? A decade ago? Come on, man. Stop with the nonsense. We don't have anybody else that can field a punt and actually be a threat to take it the distance. Will Blackman's the best you got. And I know I seem like I'm piling on Will Blackman today. I like Will Blackman. I just don't like Will Blackman as a safety nor a punt returner. And there's a spot on this roster for Will Blackman, just not as a safety or a punt returner. But guess what Will Blackman's going to make this team as? A safety and a punt returner, which is disgusting, if you ask me. So there are holes on this roster. There are problems with this roster, the way it's constructed right now. I didn't see a lot of talent. I'm not going to lie to you. But it was the first preseason game, and we had quite a bit of guys not suit up. So take it for what it's worth. Standouts in the game. There weren't many. It wasn't a pretty game. We scored 3 points. We scored 3 whole points. Wasn't a bunch of standouts. But I thought Phil Taylor was outstanding at the nose tackle position. We're going to need that. We haven't had a nose tackle in quite some time. So that would be great if we can get him to play the way. There was a play down by the goal line where he literally took the center, tossed his ass aside, and made a tackle. He was outstanding. He was active. He was explosive off the snap. He was disruptive. He was in the backfield. I thought Phil Taylor had himself a whale of a night. Zach Brown. I thought he was all over the football field. I'd like to see him get more first-team reps. I know they like Will Compton. I know they like Foster. I'd like to see Zach Brown get some opportunities to mix in with that first team and see what he does. And eventually, I think that will come if he continues to play the way that he did against the Ravens. I thought he was active. I thought he ran around very fluidly, and that's what we brought him in to do, run around, make plays and coverage. I thought he was solid, and I think he's going to need more opportunities to play with the first team as the preseason wears on. I told you I thought Josh Harvey-Clemens showed some flashes. I thought Ryan Grant was solid, had a nice catch over the middle, but beyond that, there weren't many guys that had outstanding games. You want to give credit to the young rookies out of Alabama. Go right ahead. Ryan Anderson, I thought he was okay. I wasn't overly impressed. Jonathan Allen, he got a sack, but it wasn't a win immediately off the sack. It was go up the field, peel back, dive at the ankles of the quarterback and get him. He got him. And there's something to be said about that, but at the end of the day, that was okay. It wasn't great. So not many good takeaways from this game, but the best takeaway of them all is that we came out relatively healthy minus the Trent Murphy ACL tear, and it's only the first preseason game. So that's the caveat there and the silver lining. But let's get to some of your comments. I've ranted and talked enough. I want to see where you guys stand in all of this and how you guys feel. So we're going to get to some of your comments here and see how you guys feel about what you saw in the first preseason game and how you felt about the offseason thus far and what your takeaways are initially to the Redskins in the 2017 season thus far. So let's get to some of your comments and see what you guys have to say. Redskin Review says, now, Josh Doxson's health is even that much more important with all these other injuries. It puts even more weight on the rookies to perform. I agreed. I think Doxson has to be healthy. We got to have it. With Jordan Reed right now being a question mark, with Terrell Pryor still coming along and being a young receiver in this offense and a young receiver overall, there's still going to be some kinks and some growing pains there with him in this offense. And so you can't expect him to be the savior and come in and just replace all of the production we got out of Djax and Pierre Garçon by himself. He's going to need help, and that guy was presumed to be Josh Doxson. We all expect J.C. Ice to have a much bigger role. I think he could easily go over 1,000 yards receiving this year because he's such a threat in the slot for us, but he's even dealing with a hamstring injury right now. So health is important and imperative across the board, not just Josh Doxson, Jamison Crowder's health, Jordan Reed's health. All of those guys being healthy are going to give us a chance offensively. If those guys aren't healthy, we're not I repeat, not going to be anywhere near the team. And you can say what you want about Pierre Garçon. The one thing you knew he was going to do is he was going to suit up every week. Okay? You couldn't say the same thing for Deshaun Jackson, but when he was in the game, you knew what he was going to bring to the table. But you knew Pierre was going to be out there regardless. And so you're hoping at least we get that from Terrell Pryor, because we're going to need somebody to be healthy, because we know Jordan Reed's going to miss at least 2 games every year, at least. At minimum, 2 games. Jamison Crowder has been fairly healthy throughout his career thus far, and Josh Doctson hasn't been. So we're going to see what happens at the receiver position at tight end, because we're going to need guys to stay healthy for sure. Protect428 says, I'm definitely worried about Jay Reed. I'm salty about Trent Murphy. What the F is up with the first team offense? What's next for our squad? I basically touched on that. I thought it was a very poor showing, but again, it was the first preseason game. I'm not mad about that. I expect them to play much better versus Green Bay, and it'll be a much tougher test against the Packers at home next week in week 2 of the preseason. I'm looking for them to be a lot sharper in that performance as well. RG3 hashtag smoking at 3 hashtag 1000 says, man, you overreacting, bro. LOL. I may be just a tiny bit out. I'm not really overreacting. I'm just, there's a lot of things that I didn't like in this game. And if that's any indication of what's to come, then that's really, really disappointing. I don't think this game is foreshadowing what's to come moving forward, but we had a lot of guys out. And if that's the depth behind the guys that were out, that's very alarming. So, yeah, I will overreact to that, because there was not a lot of talent that I saw out on the football field against the Ravens, hence the 3 points that we put up. It doesn't matter that the first team struggled. It matters that once the bums for the Ravens got in and the guys that aren't going to be on their team got in, we still weren't able to muster anything because we didn't have talented enough. Remember last year when the reserves and backups for other teams would come in, our guys would start to score points. Colt McCoy would take the offense down the field. We would score, and we had guys making plays. You didn't see that last week because we don't have that kind of talent, I don't feel, right now. And I don't know if that's a depth issue or and who do you attribute that to? Is that a Doug Williams, Bruce Allen issue? No more Scott McCloughan picking up the undrafted guys and really stocking his roster with talent? Or is that just the initial look, those guys aren't as bad as I perceive them to be, and they'll be better next week? We'll see. Protect428 says, Mr. West took Will Blackman's soul with a juke, bro. Yeah, he did. Wake up, Mr. West. Mr. West juked the draws off that man. Took his soul, left it right on about the 11-yard line. Let's see what we got now. RG3 hashtag smoking at 3 hashtag 1000 says, don't worry, bro. We will beat them sorry ass Ravens. He's a Browns fan, so okay. It doesn't matter. I don't have anything against the Ravens. Protect428 says, bro, what the F is our starting running back? Any updates on Josh and JC Ice? So as far as Josh Doctson and JC Ice are concerned, the doc will be back. He'll be in eventually. It's just a mild hamstring sprain. Same with JC Ice. I'm expecting those guys. They may not play in weeks 2 of the preseason just as a precaution, but I expect those guys to be ready for the 3rd preseason game. But there's no need to rush these guys back. You want to see those guys back. You want to see them getting reps, obviously, just to get some continuity and some rhythm and timing to this offense with everybody playing. But at the end of the day, health is the most important part for the Eagles week 1. And if we don't have these guys in the preseason, I won't cry over spilt milk. But I expect both of those guys to be ready to go in the 3rd preseason game of the season. And so we'll see what happens with those guys. Redskin Review says, I like Montrell Spate, but Nico Marley was playing his spot and performing, so that's something to watch if Spate cannot stay healthy. Montrell Spate has been injured since we got him. Whether it's been concussions or a lower leg extremity injury. It just seems like he just can't stay out of it. And he loves football. And I wanted Montrell Spate to work out. But if he can't stay healthy, he can't make this roster. Nico Marley played well. He's just so small. He's so undersized. I just don't know if there's a place for him in this league. He's such a diminutive guy, not just in height. I'm talking about his build. He's a really small guy, but yes, he was running around. He was doing some good things, and so I'll continue to watch him, as we all will, throughout the preseason to see if he's able to play his way onto this roster. Special teams is going to be imperative for him. If he shines on special teams and continues to be quality on defense, they may find it hard to cut him and may keep him in wake of some of the injuries that are on this roster, or just outperforming other guys. We'll see. But I thought it was a good start for Nico Marley in terms of him making a case to try to make this roster. Protect428 says, our offense is scary bad, bro. Zero depth at receiver. These mofos look like garbage, straight trash. I'm not going to be down on the offense. Again, it's the first preseason game. I'm down on the depth right now. That I am worried about. I am concerned about the lack of depth that I saw. This looks nothing like the depth I saw from the receiver position in particular a season ago. And so, yes, that does worry me. I thought the offensive line really looked bad, and I expected them to be really, really strong coming out the gate. You know, Morgan Moses gets his new contract in the offseason, so Momo's ready to go. Trent on the other side, so you got your stalwart tackles, your bookend tackles on both sides. I thought Brandon Sheriff came off a strong sophomore campaign as a guard, made the Pro Bowl, so you're expecting him to come out and ball out. Spencer Long, another year at center, you're expecting him to play well and better. And I just thought those guys came out and they just looked ill-prepared. And sometimes that happens when there's a lack of hitting in camp and a lack of live bullets really being thrown around. The first time you really get to hit someone and guys and teams are throwing different schemes and looks at you. We haven't seen real blitzes all camp long. They threw some. They came with the kitchen sink a couple of times at the Ravens, and we just were ill prepared. And so you expect there to be some breakdowns. And I'm not that bad. I'm not that hard. I'm not going to be that hard on the first team offense. They just need to play better. I expect them to as the preseason progresses. The lack of depth does scare me, however, though. RG3's hashtag smoking at 3 says Samaje is going to be fine. We'll see. We will see. I think so. I told you I felt like it was the first game jitters. I think he was thinking a little bit too much, and I think he'll be fine as well. I don't think that was indicative of what we're getting from him moving forward. I think he just, he's a rookie, and those things happen. Redskin Review says the field goal penalty is what turned the tide of the game. They scored a touchdown off that penalty. Good point. I failed to make mention of that. What the hell are you doing, Stacey McGee, lining up over the center? You know that's illegal. You can't do that. That was a stupid penalty. If that was a regular season, and just in case you didn't know, they missed that field goal. Just Incredible, a.k.a. Justin Tucker, actually missed the field goal, which is so rare. And to have that penalty, that was so foolish. Had that been the regular season, I would have torn Stacey McGee a new asshole. But it's the preseason. It's the preseason for everybody. And so, hey, Stacey McGee, don't do that again. Don't ever do that again. But in any event, that was a big turning point. That the play after that was the West run that got him down to the 2-yard line, and eventually 2 plays later got him into the end zone. So that was, in fact, the turning play of the game. But make no mistake about it, they had opportunities prior to that. If Ryan Mallett wasn't so bad, they would have scored previous to that. So even though that was a turning point in the game at that time, they had opportunities, and he just failed to connect. So we got to get better, point blank, period. Redskins Review says, put Nico Marley to punt returns. At least he would show effort. Isaac Chavez says, I think Josh Harvey Clemens looked really good. I'm a big fan of his since college. How do you feel about his performance? And I talked about that already. I thought he played well. I agree with you. I thought he looked good, and I want to see more. Protect428 says, you funny as hell. I can't deal. Will Blackman rant was epic, bro. And again, I don't want to seem like I'm piling on Will Blackman. I like Will Blackman. I just don't like my Will Blackman at safety nor punt returner. That's all. Look, I think Will Blackman might actually fare better than Kendall Fuller in the slot. That's just my opinion. Kendall Fuller is getting his ass roasted in the slot. We saw it last year. We saw it in this game. He needs to be better. And he wasn't good on Thursday. He wasn't great last season. We're going to need him to step up, or else we're going to be in trouble in the slot. And so I think Will Blackman would be better served moving back to the slot. That's just how I feel. Point blank, period. I think he's a better fit. Isaac Chavez says, I'm so hyped for Fabian Moreau being back. Went to my dream school of UCLA. When do you think he replaces Bree for the starting spot? Next season or this season? Well, they're going to give Bree every opportunity, as this is a contract year for him, to ball out. I think Bree will not be back next year. I don't like what I'm seeing from him. He was beaten on another pass pattern last night for a first down. I don't know if that switch is ever going to come on that we saw from him in his rookie and even the sophomore season when I thought he was playing his best football. I thought he struggled last year. He may struggle again this year. I'm not that high on him like I was. Vitamin B, I've snatched away the nickname. He's now Bashar Breeland. Give me back my nickname. I just don't feel like he's Vitamin B anymore. That swag that he once had, the minute we traded for Josh Norman, he lost all of that swag. It went straight to his head. He lost the confidence. And I hope he gets it back. I'm rooting for him. Even if it's not in a Redskin uniform, I want him to do well elsewhere. But in the meantime, in 2017, I want to see this man have a strong campaign and go get paid next year. And right now, I'm not seeing it from him. But we'll see. But as far as the question that you asked, I don't think Fabian Moreau will take his spot this year unless he's really struggling. But they will work him into the mix because he is the future at that second cornerback spot. That's why they drafted him, because they understand that that Bree is in a contract season and that he might not be back with us next year. That's a real possibility, and because of that, they're drafting for the future. Same thing they did with Josh Doxson last year. They understood that both Pierre and Djax were going to be up contractually the next year, and that they probably weren't going to be back. I couldn't foresee both of them not being back, and I don't know if they foresaw both of them not coming back, but they knew at least one of them weren't going to be back, and so they made that move to put themselves in a position to soften that blow, and I think that's what the Fabian Moreau drafting was and is, and I think you'll see him get some reps in this season from time to time, but fully take over the starting role unless an injury happens. I don't see it happening this season unless Bree is that bad. Matthew Lynch says, what is our number one hole on our roster given our team is healthy? I think right now the biggest hole on this roster, just looking at the way we're constructed, is the ability or lack thereof to get to the quarterback. Matt, I feel like we still don't get pressure on the quarterback. And again, we had a ton of guys out. I don't know what Jonathan Allen is going to look like once he starts getting real reps. Maybe he helps pressure. Maybe Kerrigan is healthy this year and he's better. Maybe Junior Gillette is healthy and he makes us better. Maybe Preston Smith, who I've heard by all accounts looks a lot better this year, is better. I actually thought another guy that I thought played well, Chris Carter, excuse me. I thought Chris Carter played well and actually got a little bit of pressure off the edge. He's a guy to look out for now with Trent Murphy going down. There's a roster spot available at outside linebacker as a rush linebacker, and Chris Carter may be able to fill that void. I thought he actually looked good last preseason. I think he's looking good again this year. So we'll see who's going to fill that void. But right now, getting to the quarterback, because we got to get off the field on third downs. I still feel like the offense is going to be just fine. Offense, I'm not fazed by what I saw at all whatsoever. The defense still scares the hell out of me, though. And in order to clean up a lot of the things that we saw last year, the best way to do that, get to the quarterback. And right now, I still don't feel confident that we can get to the quarterback. So if you ask me, I think Zach Brown's going to make an impact as a linebacker. I think DJ Swearinger, I'm hoping. I'm not a huge DJ Swearinger fan. He's got to win me over. But we're hoping him and Sewell Cravens combined do a number on the safety position and clean that up. You're hoping that we're better at cornerback this year than we were last year, but the biggest upgrade defensively needs to be up front along the defensive line. We've had overhaul, major changes along the defensive line. Phil Taylor coming in. Ziggy Hood's going to be a year better, you hope. Stacey McGee, and also the kid that we got from the Cowboys, Terrell McClain. Going to make up a much better and much improved defensive line along with Jonathan Allen. You're hoping that we can get a little bit of pressure there. But the rush linebacker position is the one that still scares me because I don't think that Ryan Anderson is going to generate a ton of pressure. You know how I feel about Ryan Kerrigan. He's a number 2, not a number 1. We're missing that one guy off the edge that really makes everything go. So for me, that's that one hole on the roster right now that I feel like needs to be field, if you're just talking about from a depth perspective, then no, rush outside linebacker isn't the biggest need because we've got players there. We've got bodies there. If you're talking about from a depth perspective, safety, by far and away, is the biggest hole on this roster. If you're just talking about from a depth perspective, safety. But if you're talking about from a production standpoint, and we don't know what we're going to get out of the safety position, but at least you feel confident that Sua and DJ Swearinger will be far better than anything we had on the field last year. The rush outside linebacker and getting to the quarterback on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 13, that still scares me right now. James McMillan III says, I missed your comments on our secondary. What did you think of Swearinger? I mean, he didn't play enough. You know, no one on the first team offense nor defense played enough to really get a feel for what anybody was capable of really doing. And so I don't really have anything to say. I thought that, you know, the first team defense got lucky. They went 3 and out both times, did the Ravens, because of Ryan Mallett. So I didn't think we were impressive on defense on the first 2 possessions. We easily could have given up some things, and we just got lucky that they missed. And so it was more of them than us defensively, and that's something that still is a problem for me. It needs to be more of us, not the opposition, when we get off the field on 3rd down, and we got off the field on 3rd down because of them, not because of what we did. Let's see. Any more comments? That is the last comment. So thank you guys for joining me. All in all, I basically feel like that it was a poor showing. You know, 3 points, 3 whole entire points for the preseason opener for the Redskins. But I'm not going to kill the Redskins because of the performance. I'm going to kill them for the lack of depth right now. We got a ton of injuries. There's no mistaking that. And there's no bypassing that. You have to talk about the injuries when you talk about what we saw on the field. But it's the first preseason game. A lot of those guys weren't going to play a bunch of snaps anyway. My concern is that if these guys are, in fact, injured at any point during the season, what do we truly have behind them? That's the question that I have. And seeing what I saw on the field, and we got a lot of young guys that's banged up. Fabian Moreau wasn't able to play. Monte Nicholson wasn't able to play. We got a ton of guys. Even the young guys are injured. So there'll be more depth to come, obviously. But just off of first blush, wasn't really impressed with what I saw depth-wise. And I actually wasn't impressed with the depth on this roster last year. There were guys that we cut that I felt like deserved a roster spot. And so the fact that I don't feel that way right now, and obviously it's early, okay? I'll feel much differently after the 3rd preseason game than I do right now. But off first blush, the depth on this roster is very sketchy at best. And so that's my biggest takeaway from this first game versus the Ravens. But in any event, I am a Redskins fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Redskins spirit will never die. Redskins spirit will never fold until we meet again. Hail to our beloved burgundy and gold. Until next time, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. Enjoy the preseason football. There's a lot going on, including the Cowboys, who will be playing the Los Angeles Rams tonight on NFL Network, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So go ahead and check that out. You know, always good to keep your enemies just as close as your friends. And so we'll lay eyes on Cowboys tonight and see what they're able to do and see if they look a lot sharper than we did in our first preseason tilt of the season. So for everyone who joined me, thanks out there. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel, Louie T Network, for more great content. I will see you most likely after the Redskins' next preseason game, as we'll come back and discuss what we saw in the second game at home versus the Green Bay Packers in the Redskins' home opener in the preseason. I'll see you then. Have a good one.